The Halloween Massacre, an original novel by Jeremy Terry. Chapter 14, State Police. Brackett paused with his foot on the bottom step leading up to the Myers house, sagging front porch as the radio at his hip crackled to life. He pulled it off and keyed the talk button. "Go for Brackett." "This is Spearman out at the high school," said the voice on the other end of the radio. "There's nothing to report, no sign of either Myers or Sawyer." "Good deal," Brackett replied. "Keep me posted. I want to hear from you every 30 minutes. Watch each other's backs." "That's a big 10-4, Sheriff. Over and out." Brackett replaced the radio and then looked up at the house. The paint was peeling now, revealing the gray wood beneath. Every window was broken, and the word monster had been spray-painted in red across the front door. A faded for sale sign leaned crookedly against the steps, mostly hidden by the rampant growth of weeds that covered the yard. "Do you remember the last time we were here together?" Brackett asked. "Of course," Loomis answered from behind him. "I told you about my time with Michael and what he did to his sister inside. I nearly soiled my pants when the gutter fell and broke the window." "So did I," Brackett replied. He mounted the porch and opened the front door. The musty scent of dusty years wafted out, accompanied by the smell of old rot. Brackett switched on his flashlight as he drew his revolver, playing the beam over the foyer and staircase just inside. "We found a dead dog in the room to the right. You said Michael got hungry. I thought you were crazy, Sam. Now I know better. Neither one of those things can be human." Loomis drew his own revolver and followed the sheriff inside. They cleared the first floor in silence, moving as a team, and found nothing. The thick carpet of dust on the old linoleum floors lay undisturbed by footprints. They came back to the base of the stairs, each glancing up. "It's obvious he hasn't been here tonight," Brackett said, holstering his firearm. "Not yet, at least," Loomis agreed, putting his own away. "He will, though." "Maybe," Brackett said. "I don't see the point in going upstairs, do you?" Loomis shook his head. "Not at all." Brackett turned to face the older man, frowning. "Sam, I've been doing some reading, and what I found disturbed me. I assume you are familiar with Carl Jung?" Loomis laughed. "Intimately. I am a psychologist, after all." Brackett smiled weakly and ran his bandaged hand over his face. "Of course. Jung said that the wickedness in others breeds wickedness in us because it kindles evil in our own hearts. And Nietzsche wrote that he who fights with monsters might take care lest he become a monster. And if you gaze long into the abyss gazes also into you." "From Jung to Nietzsche?" Loomis asked, putting a comforting hand on Brackett's shoulder. "You have been contemplating heavy things." "I guess," Brackett said, shuffling his feet. "I was wondering. Both of us spend our lives looking at the worst that humanity has to offer. The things Myers and Sawyer did tonight were unspeakable. Pure evil. How are we supposed to confront this and not be changed by it? I see it all the time in law enforcement. You become desensitized to all this shit because that is the only way to cope with the horror. You can lose your empathy. How do we deal with stuff like this and not lose our essential part of ourselves?" Loomis looked down at his hands, thinking. "I've counseled with my share of officers and deputies over the years prior to working at Smith's Grove. I've heard men and women ask that same question. I didn't really have a good answer for them at the time, and I don't now. What I can say is that evil exists in this world. People do terrible things to each other, but their opposite exists as well. Where there are people like Jason Voorhees or Michael Myers, you also have people like Mother Teresa and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Good people. Lee, the world is full of them, and you are one of them. Take heart. You will never be like Michael and Leatherface, no matter how desensitized you may become. This world needs men like you because evil flourishes when good men do nothing." "You said a mouthful there," Brackett said. Thanks for picking me up and for being here when I need you. Any time, Loomis replied. So what do you suggest we do now? Brackett looked around at the dark, empty house. If Michael didn't come here, then where would he go? Laurie once told me that Michael followed her, Annie, and their friend Linda home, Loomis said. Perhaps he is trying to find Laurie again. Brackett gasped, remembering the nice young family that lived across the street from him. Sam, there's a family living in the Strode house. They have kids. Loomis paled. We have to get over there. Get on the radio and have a deputy meet us at once. They mustn't stay in that home. State Police Officer Spearman parked his cruiser beside the high school gym after completing his 5th patrol around the rear of the campus in the last hour. He rolled down his window, yawning, hoping the cold night air would wake him up. He checked his watch. They'd made their last report to Sheriff Brackett 5 minutes ago. That left 25 minutes until the next update. God, he thought as he yawned again. Please don't let me fall asleep. All I need is for Brackett to tell my captain I was sleeping on the job and I can kiss any hope of getting promoted this next rotation goodbye. He opened his door and got out to stretch. He felt like he was drowning. He was never going to make it until his relief came. Why had he been stuck with this pissant job? He wanted to be out roaming the streets in the middle of the action. He wanted to search block by block for the 2 psycho killers. Instead, he was stuck here driving in circles around the rear parking lot, babysitting a bunch of high school kids and their families. He looked to the back of the gym where lights flickered through windows high on the wall. They were watching a movie. How nice for them. Wouldn't it be nice to be inside there instead of freezing his ass off outside? Bradshaw had it made patrolling the corridors inside. A branch snapped behind him and Spearman whirled around, shining his flashlight on the tree line. Nothing moved. Another snapped to his right. He swung the light in time to see a man in an orange coverall and white mask vanish deeper into the woods. His heart began to hammer in his chest as he reached for his radio and switched to the alternate frequency the 3 guarding the school were using to communicate. Spearman to Bradshaw and Woodsbury, come back. A second pause and then a voice came across the radio. This is Woodsbury. I saw Myers in the trees behind the gym, Spearman shouted. I need you to drive around here and help me. Bradshaw, step back to the rear entrance in case we need you. A longer pause trailed out before Bradshaw came across. Are you sure you didn't fall asleep out there? Of course I didn't fall asleep, asshole, Spearman said. I wasn't dreaming. I saw him. I saw the mask as plain as day. Then why don't we get on the horn and call for backup? Woodsbury asked reasonably enough. Because we would be famous if we catch him ourselves, Spearman thought, but did not say. Because catching the babysitter killer by ourselves would guarantee my promotion. He keyed the mic. Just get back here and help me. Fine, Woodsbury sighed. I'm on my way. Spearman put the radio back on his belt and drew his pistol from its holster. Woodsbury drove around the corner of the school a moment later and parked by Spearman's cruiser. The harried-looking policeman turned on his bubble lights and jumped out, stroking his mustache as he came. He thinks the facial hair makes him look the part of a lawman, Spearman thought. I think it makes him look like Barney Fife with a caterpillar on his lips. Okay, Woodsbury said. Here I am. Where did you see the big bad man? Spearman bit back a retort, reminding himself he must be professional at all times. He pointed his flashlight beam to the place where he had seen the shape, and the other policeman nodded, drawing his own flashlight and pistol. They moved towards the tree line side by side, their gazes sweeping left and then right, searching for any sign of movement. There was none. Woodsbury paused at the forest edge, listening. You hear that? Spearman shrugged. I don't hear anything. Right, Woodsbury said, stroking his mustache again. There should be some crickets or other bugs singing in the undergrowth. What would make them go so quiet? Myers, Spearman said, stepping past the man into the trees. Darkness crowded around them beneath the boughs, blocking off the moon's cold light. Spearman suddenly felt like he was in a cave underground, with the walls closing in around him. He took a deep breath to calm his rattled nerves and moved on. Woodsbury moved away to his right, spreading out to search. Each policeman tried to move quietly in spite of the fallen leaves and twigs crunching under their feet. They were 50 feet into the trees, and Spearman could see the dim orange glow of a street light shining through the forest ahead. It wasn't a forest after all, just an overgrown lot. There weren't many places to hide. Maybe he had been dreaming with his eyes open. Maybe he was so bored that his mind showed him what he wanted to see. He sighed, ready to take the ridicule of his co-workers. The scent of the fallen leaves was like cinnamon and cloves. Nice smells, comforting smells to a young man that grew up running through the woods behind his home. He started to turn and then paused. There was another smell on the air. A musky odor reached his nostrils. It was a scent out of place in the forest, one that belonged in a gym locker room instead. It was the smell of another person's body odor. Spearman spun, raising his pistol. His arm was caught in a terrifyingly strong grip that forced the gun's barrel toward the ground and ground the bones of his forearm together. He opened his mouth to cry for help, and another hand covered his mouth. Spearman stared up at the white mask, stared through the eye holes into the blackest eyes he had ever seen. "Oh, Christ, my arm! Where the hell is Woodsbury?" Spearman lifted his right leg to kick, and Michael shoved him off balance, slamming him down on his back in the leaves. He saw the beam of Woodsbury's flashlight play across his attacker's face, heard the other policeman call his name. Spearman tried to cry out, and then began to scream against the muffling hand as it pushed down on his face. He felt his jaw dislocate, felt the tendons tearing as his jawbone was driven back into his neck. "No," he thought, "not like this. No one deserves to go out like this." Michael put a foot on Spearman's right wrist, pinning his gun hand to the ground. He reached up towards Spearman's face, his dirty fingers forming a claw. Spearman tried to move his head, to roll over and flee, but it was no use. The killer's fingers plunged deep into Spearman's eye sockets, rupturing his eyeballs. The cop felt the fingers digging through cartilage and bone, felt them come together and then yank outward, pulling part of his skull out with them. He writhed under his murder's weight, a squealing, blind thing driven mad by the pain that seemed like it would never end. "Oh God, let it end," he prayed. "Let me die." Michael brought his booted foot down on Spearman's head, collapsing the man's skull as if in an answer to his appeal. That's when Woodsbury found them. He froze for the briefest second, torn between two separate imperatives. One hand moved towards his radio to call for backup, the other raising the pistol. The minute pause was all Michael needed. He plucked Spearman's gun from his dead hand and threw it at Woodbury's face, hitting him in the bridge of his nose and sending him stumbling back. His feet struck a fallen tree and he fell over onto his back, his nose spraying blood into his upturned face. He tried to wipe the gore from his eyes so that he could see, and screamed as he felt ice-cold steel penetrate his chest. The scream turned into a gargle as more blood filled his punctured lung. The knife was withdrawn and then it plunged back in 2 times, 3, 4, again and again and again. State Police Officer Bradshaw was on edge as he paced the classroom's building's central hallway. He checked his watch, cursing under his breath. Spearman and Woodsbury's last transmission had been 5 minutes ago, more than enough time to clear a small lot of trees. He lifted his radio to his mouth, keyed the talk button. "Bradshaw to Spearman, come in." There was no response. He heard soft footsteps behind him and turned to see Sally watching him with a concerned look on her beautiful face. This was a woman he would love to spend time with at any other moment. But right then, he glanced from her face to the gun on her hip. She wanted to help, insisted on it. The last thing he needed was an untrained civilian armed with a hand cannon shooting at shadows. "Is something wrong?" she asked. He shook his head. "There's nothing for you to worry about." She cocked her head to one side. "Really? Because it sounds like your partners outside have gone radio silent." "They're probably just talking and can't hear my radio," he responded. "Now please, Miss Hardesty, go back to the gym with the others." "It's more than that, and you know it." Bradshaw shook his head. First he had to deal with Spearman's dumbass, and now this. He walked over to her, took her elbow gently, and led her a few steps up the corridor. "Please do as I ask. I can't have you here right now." "Idiot," Sally breathed. She turned and walked away down the dimly lit hallway. Bradshaw grimaced, guessing he didn't have much of a shot with her after all. Sighing, he strode down the hall towards the rear of the building. He came to a double set of doors and passed through into the lunchroom. Rows of folding tables and chairs stretched from one side of the big room to the other, silent and empty. He walked by them, past the counter, and through another set of swinging doors into the dark kitchen. He turned on his flashlight and gasped as roaches scurried away from the beam. "I won't be eating breakfast here in the morning," he thought. Pressing on. He walked past a large stove and prep area and stopped in front of a set of doors that opened onto the rear school parking lot. He pushed them, found them to be locked just as he expected they would be. "Spearman, you dipshit," he muttered, grabbing his radio. He keyed the mic. "Spearman, I'm in position at the rear of the school kitchen. I swear you better not be playing games out there. Woodsbury. Spearman, one of you answer me." Silence. The overeager asshole was just jumping at shadows, he thought. I wonder if they ran into each other and knocked each other out like the Three Stooges. Nyuk, nyuk, nyuk. The joke's on you. Certainly, Bradshaw. The sound of breaking glass to his right drove these thoughts from Bradshaw's mind. He spun, his flashlight and gun pointed at a closed office door. He held his breath, listening, but no other sound came. "Shit," he hissed. "What now, brother man? Step back and call for backup." He thought of the kids and their families just down the hall, innocent people who might be hurt if he walked away. "Bucket," he said. "No guts, no glory." He crept to the door, tried the knob. It turned easily in his grip. He opened the door and stepped inside, sweeping the room with his flashlight and gun. Shards of glass glinted on a desk against the back wall, shards fallen from the broken window above it. Bradshaw stepped towards it, feeling the cold night air blowing through the opening, chilling his upturned face. Something moved to his left. He turned to see a hulking figure charge from behind a coat rack in the corner, a long knife held in its hands. Bradshaw didn't have time to fire. The shape hit him with the force of a linebacker, lifting him into the air and slamming him into the wall. Pain pierced his chest, and Bradshaw looked down to see the handle of the butcher knife sticking out of his breastbone. It twitched with each beat of his heart. He was pinned to the wall like a bug, with his feet dangling a foot off the floor. "You bastard!" Bradshaw spat, flecks of his blood falling on the upturned white mask. Michael stared curiously at him, tilting his head from one side to the other. Bradshaw tried to raise his hand, hoping the gun was still clutched in his numbing fingers. He couldn't raise his arm. He felt warm liquid running down his back to pull on the floor at the base of the wall. It was too late. The last thing he saw was Michael, stopping at a counter beside the kitchen oven to pull a fresh butcher knife from a block. "Oh, the kids," he thought. "Those poor kids." Chapter 15, The Jock and the Cheerleader. Vic groaned in satisfaction as he rolled off Lila and stared up at the shelves of books that lined the closet's walls over their heads. Lila writhed wantonly beside him, giggling to herself. "Wow, Vicky," she said. "That was better than I imagined it would be. You can do that to me anytime you want." Vic smirked, feeling like Superman. He lay back on the mattress, wishing he had a cigarette. He'd heard that a cigarette was great after a roll in the hay. "Sure thing, but don't call me Vicky. Sounds like a girl's name." "Yes, sir," she said, snapping off a quick salute that made her breast bounce enticingly. "I'm glad Miss Glenda keeps this mattress and pillow in here. It was much more comfortable doing it on it than it would have been on top of her desk or the bare floor." "You got that right," he said. "Why does she keep this thing in here anyway?" "It's so weird, right?" Lila said, sitting up to rest her elbows on her knees. "She calls it her bed. Apparently she comes in here and takes a nap in the closet during her lunch breaks. She sent me in here to get something one time during class, and she got so mad when she saw me stepping on the mattress. 'Get off my bed!' she shouted. It was trippy, dude. The lady is a real fruitcake." "That sounds wild," he said as he stood up and pulled his pants on. "I wish I could have been there to see it. I would have laughed my ass off." "Where are you running off to?" she asked with a wink. "I hope you aren't done yet, handsome. I was hoping for round 2 soon." "Round 2? He asked, grinning ear to ear. "I think I'm in love. I'll be right back, doll. I have to take a leak." She leaned back on her hands, thrusting out what she was offering. "Don't take too long, lover." "Oh, I won't," he said, unable to look away from her chest. "Don't get dressed." "I won't," she said, giggling again. He managed to tear his eyes away and walked out of the closet into the math teacher's classroom, marveling at how the night turned out. He'd been so caught up on Lindsay that he'd never looked at any of the other girls around him. It had taken him completely by surprise when Lila came after him and all but threw herself at him. What man could have resisted that? It was really too bad things didn't work out with Lindsay, though. She was the kind of girl you took home to meet your parents. The kind of girl you settled down with. Lila was neither of those things. She was the kind of girl you screwed the brains out of until something better came along. It'll be so much fun, though, he thought as he stepped out into the corridor and across to the men's bathroom. He flicked on the light before walking past the sinks, pausing to check himself out in the mirrors above them. He flexed his biceps and grinned. His muscles were beginning to show real definition. Just wait, he thought. I'm going to go off to college as jacked as Stallone. Eat your heart out, college girls. He stepped up to the first urinal and started to go. Behind him, the bathroom door opened and someone with a heavy tread walked in. Whoever it was must have been a big dude. Was it Jason come to make amends? "Hey man," Vic said. "Way to have my back in there. Haven't you ever heard the saying, bros before hoes?" They walked up behind him, close enough for him to feel their breath on the back of his neck. Did Jason want to fight him? He finished and pulled his pants up quickly in order to free his hands. He turned around, fist clenched, ready to throw down. He gasped, tried to take a step back, and bumped into the urinal. It wasn't Jason. He knew this man, knew the mask and his name as well as any resident of Haddonfield. Had he really laughed it off when that sheriff's deputy cleared the football field saying that Michael Myers and that other one had escaped? It had seemed like a fun, spooky time, perfect for Halloween in the haunted little town. It didn't seem fun anymore, as he stared up at that expressionless, pale visage. How's it hanging?" he asked, his voice cracking like a kid's just going through puberty. "You're him, huh? Michael Myers, the babysitter killer? Big fan of your work. Those people all deserved it, am I right?" Michael didn't move, didn't blink. Vic tried to step to the side. All he needed was a half-second head start. He would bolt from the room and be gone. The lumbering beast would never be able to catch him. But Michael didn't give him that chance. He moved with Vic and rammed his forearm into the quarterback's neck, pinning him against the wall. Vic reached up, tried to pry the arm free. He might as well try to lift a semi-truck with his bare hands. Pain tore through his stomach from his belly button to his sternum. He looked down, tried to scream, and ejected a jet of blood. Michael had stabbed him in the stomach and drew the blade slowly up, cutting open his abdomen. Pale viscera erupted from the slash to spill over the waistband of his football pants. Vic moaned. He shook his head, pleading with his eyes. Michael paused for a moment, staring right back at him, and then he dropped the knife and plunged his hand into Vic's chest cavity. Vic felt the hand gripping something, heard a meaty squelch as it was yanked free. He looked down to see one of his lungs clutched in the palm of Michael's hand. He held it up in front of Vic's face so that he could see it until the light vanished from the boy's eyes. The shape let the dead boy slide to the floor and then tossed the lung on top of the pile of spilled intestines that pulled on his lap. He wiped his hands off as best he could on the gore-encrusted jumpsuit and then picked up his knife from the floor. There were more people he needed to see. Tommy was nearby. So was the little girl named Lindsay. He could feel it like an itch at the base of his skull. He turned and then froze as the bathroom door opened and a quiet voice spoke, calling the dead boy's name. "Vic, did you get lost in here?" Lila called. "Do you need some help finding it?" She giggled, stepping through the door deeper into the room. She would turn the corner in a second. The shape stepped silently forward to wait. "Baby," she asked as she came into view and saw her dead lover on the bathroom floor. She opened her mouth to scream and the shape surged forward, palming her head in his massive right hand and ramming it into the mirrors above the sinks. Her body went limp, her eyes rolling up to the whites, but he did not let her fall. He rammed her head against the shattered mirror again and again, sending blood and fragments of bone flying across the white tile walls and floor. Finally, he let her go and her body fell across the dead boy's lap. The shape thought it was a fitting place for the two to end up. He turned and walked from the bathroom, turning the light off as he went. Okay, Slash-a-Holics, this has been chapters 14 and 15 of the Halloween Massacre by Jeremy Terry. Really enjoying this book. Had a lot of fun with these two chapters. Went ahead and knocked out two since the second one was kind of short. Yeah, the kills were great. I really enjoyed the stuff with Spearmint and Woodsbury. Love that little nod. The way that Michael killed Spearmint was freaking crazy. And taking out Vic and Lila, that was pretty cool. I'm really curious to see how it's going to go down with all these people in the gym. Because Michael's good, but I mean, that's an entire gym full of people. So we're going to see. Wondering when Leatherface is going to pop back up. We're not too far from the ending, folks, and I would love to see them going head-to-head against each other. But either way, I'm enjoying the book so far. Great slasher book, great slasher fun. We've had fun with Sawyer, we've had fun with Michael, and I feel like the best is still in front of us. Let us know what you thought of tonight's narration, thought of these two chapters. Jeremy would love to hear from you just like I would. Let us know what was your favorite kill tonight. Are you enjoying the way he's handling Michael and Sawyer? What are your hopes for the way the book ties up in the end? Also, if you haven't done so already, please subscribe. Click the like button, click the bell, drop a comment. And as you've seen on the screen, you can join the channel now through YouTube. Or you can become a patron of the channel on Patreon. If you've ever wanted to support the channel, now is the time. You can also do a one-time donation tip to the channel, either as a super chat comment in the comments below, or you could do it through PayPal or Cash App. All the information is in the pinned comment and description. And also, if you would like to order a physical copy, a paperback or hardback, or even an ebook of the two books that I've written for the channel, Friday the 13th Quarantine and A Nightmare on Elm Street Celestial Slumber, you can now do so on Amazon. The links to both of those Amazon pages are in the description and pinned comments. Great job, Jeremy. Really digging this book, digging the kills. Can't wait to see how it all ends up. Thank you all so much for listening. And until next time, this has been your friendly neighborhood 80s slasher librarian saying, thanks for listening, be excellent to each other, and remember, the sun never sets on those who ride into it. We'll see you next time.
Of the night, with tales of horrific might, Josh spins his airy weave in the stories we believe. Freddy's in my dreams, Chucky's silent screams, Jason's lurking near, Michael feeds the fear. I'm a slash-a-holic, addicted to the fright. Narration so hypnotic, Josh keeps me up all night. Eyes and masks and pain, blood runs like the rain. Evil finds its way in the spine-chilling fray. Out of breath but not out of light. Horror digs, don't look behind. Feel the terror crave. Will you dare to slave? I'm a slash-a-holic, addicted to the fright. Narration so hypnotic, Josh keeps me up all night. I'm a slash-a-holic, addicted to the fright. Narration so hypnotic.